Castlevania, one of the more challenging titles on the NES. Is it just me, or are current games that we play today are more easier than what they were back in the 80s and 90s? And do these classics still hold their legendary status? Well, today I want to give you my take on this game, as I've had kind of a history with this Konami classic. It was year 2010 and I was allowed to spend some leftover Wii Shop points that my sister had from buying some items on there. I was looking through to see what I could find and I discovered the Virtual Console page. It was filled with Nintendo's classics like The Legend of Zelda and Mario Bros 3. But one particular game caught my attention, and you guessed it, Action 52. No, only joking. Of course it was Castlevania. Looking through the images of the game, in my mind I thought, cool, a zombie beat 'em up. I quickly bought it and started to download the game. I booted it up, started playing, and well, you guessed it, I died. I managed to get past the boss on the first level, but I never could really pass those stupid Medusa heads with the insta-kill drops. I pretty much gave up at that point, and didn't really play for a while. But every time I was loading up another game to play on the console, Castlevania would just be there watching and waiting for me to play it again. And I did. Once every so often I would play the game and still die, but this time I was progressing more and more. In fact, I actually managed to beat the Medusa boss on the second level. And as the months and years went by, my so-called gaming skills was improving, but I still couldn't beat the game. I left it at the third level, or as the game calls it, stage 9. I can never beat the mummy boss. I always end up losing my lives and have to restart the level again. At that point, I lost interest in the game and I just started playing other titles that came out that year. So Castlevania just stayed on the Wii's home screen, forever waiting to torment me. Until now. However, I won't be playing it on my Wii. Instead, I'll be playing it on Steam, as Konami released an anniversary collection with all of the major Castlevania titles. Well, not all of them. Symphony of Night. Sorry. The game will be exactly the same, but I'll be just using save states.
Smithies, are they booing me?
No, they're saying boo earns, boo earns.
I know. Why don't I play the game properly? Well, it helps me out a lot. I really wanted to make a video and share my thoughts on this game, as I've always had a feud with it. But I know for a fact I'll be just going insane and just end up putting it down, and I just won't be able to play it again for like another 5 years. However, if you would like me to finish the game without save states, please let me know in the comments and I'll do a let's play. Oh, and just a quick one, I have chosen the pixel perfect graphical settings, as it just brings out those beautiful 8-bit pixels. But without further ado, let's begin. The story of this game is simple. You play as Simon Belmont, a vampire hunter from the Belmont clan, who are a famed family for destroying monsters. As it turns out, Dracula has been causing trouble in Transylvania, so it's up to Simon to take over and defeat Dracula and his castle filled with monsters, using the legendary Belmont whip, the Morning Star, that has been passed down from generation to generation. The whip is simple. When attacking, it reaches out forward and deals damage towards your enemies. You can upgrade the whip twice by finding them in candles, which will deal extra damage, and it can also extend it, making it easier to reach enemies from afar. The types of enemies you'll encounter throughout the game are vampire bats, zombies, black leopards, fishmen, Medusa heads, ravens, black knights, white skeletons, red skeletons, eagles, hunchbacks, Dragon Skull Cannons, Axemen, Ghosts, and Skelly Dragons. That is a nice chunk of enemies that you will be seeing throughout the game. Simon controls as follows. The A button is to jump, and your B button is to attack, and the D pad is to move left, right, crouch, and to use your secondary item. The secondary items you can find in the game are a dagger that shoots horizontally depending on which way you are facing, an axe that is lobbed and can penetrate enemies that are a level above you, a holy cross that is like a boomerang, as when it is thrown it will come back to you, some holy water which when thrown it splashes on the ground or enemies, creating a fire like effect that can deal damage over time and stop them in its path. It feels like a much better version of the flame from Ghosts and Goblins, as in that game it was very situational, and if you missed your shot you had to wait for the flame to go out before you could even throw another one. And finally, the stopwatch, which is by far my favourite item in the game. It literally freezes enemies in place that is on the screen, including bosses, making it much easier to kill or even slip by them. To use your sub weapon, it will consume a certain amount of hearts that you find by killing enemies or destroying candles. When I first played Castlevania, this really confused me. I'd always assume hearts as health and could see the counter and was wondering how it can be used. But in the game they're used as like ammo for your secondary weapon. There are a few ways to get health in the game. It can be done by completing a level or finding the hidden wall chicken. I always wondered why there'd be food in the castle walls. The Belmonts must have strong ass stomachs, because if that would be me and I was munching on that, I'll be puking everywhere. Another way to get your health is of course dying, but that's not really recommended as you'll lose your secondary weapon, hearts and your whip upgrades. For presentation, the game is really pretty to look at for an 8-bit title. The colours are vibrant and go well with each other, whether you're underground, walking through the hallways or outside on the castle walls. The attention to detail is very impressive and it does make you feel like you are in Dracula's castle. There was one instance in level 3, you could see Dracula's castle off in the distance. This really gave a lot of depth to the game. It reminded me and the other players that I had a long way ahead of me before I'd be facing the count. Castlevania has a total of 10 music tracks, and oh boy are they all good. When you first enter the castle grounds, you're introduced to the song Vampire Killer. This piece of music would become the most iconic in the Castlevania franchise, and it would keep making musical appearances in future titles. The other tracks as well are also great. They're not repetitive or boring, they're actually really catchy to listen to. My favourite throughout all of them is got to be Wicked Child. That will be heard on the 3rd level, the build up to it. And then now, on to the difficulty. At the start of the game, it helps you get used to the enemies you'll be countering as you traverse through the castle, and how Simon plays as well. But you soon start to realise is how stiff and slow he moves as you progress. Not down the absolute swagger he has though when he is moving, but when you're trying to outpace or manoeuvre enemies, good luck. You will pretty much die from every enemy as you progress in the game, and as you're getting closer to Dracula, you'll actually encounter the same enemies, but they'll just be in different colours, or they might have a little bit different to them. This time they'll just have more health, or they could be dealing more damage to you. You know, as if the game wasn't already kicking your ass enough, they just decided to chuck me in a pit filled with these ridden creatures. The game wants you to learn from its mistakes, and you will do that, don't worry. But not all the time though, as enemies can be such unfair places. Take this for example, on the final level of the game. There's a staircase leading up to the next level, and there's a bloody dragon skull cannon just chilling there. You go up the stairs, you'll take a hit, which is not ideal, as you know in this game, or if you're on a pube of health like me, you'll just die. The only way to beat this guy, if you had a projectile that you could hit him from where you were in the right spot, or just barely get to him on top of the stairs and you can just hit him with your whip. I want to address that even using the save states in this game, it still gave me a challenge, and I have a huge amount of respect for players in the 80s and even now that beat this game without using any. Now, on to the bosses in the game. Your first boss will be the bat. Fairly simple, swoops down from left to right while staying in the air for a while. Easy to deal with, not a problem. Second level's boss is Medusa, who will just fly around in the place. An easy tactic I use was just to use the stopwatch. It freezes her and just whip her to death. The third boss is two mummies who will walk left to right throwing. What is that? Toilet roll? Anyways, not too bad of a fight. There is some chicken on the left block, so grab it if you're in trouble. The fourth boss is Frankenstein's monster with a hunchback, which is named Eagle, and it sits on top of him, which will then jump off and start flying all over the place, lobbing projectiles at you. This boss is a pain in the ass, as you can't kill Eagle. You can only stun him, which means you have to be constantly trying to dodge the shit coming at you, while Frankenfuck just stands there slowly coming towards you, or hell, just chill in the corner. Again, this is like a luck situation. My suggestion would be to try and focus on Frankenstein and just hope he stays in this corner. You'll probably have to stun Eagle a few times, but eventually you will beat his ass. The fifth boss is Death himself, and oh boy. Death isn't even the problem, it's his flying scythes that just appear out of nowhere and constantly chase you. As soon as the fight begins, one will just spawn above you, which will guarantee a hit, even if it isn't the first time fighting him. But even then, it's still a pain in the ass to dodge. The first thing I want to recommend is just try and get rid of the scythes. And I know it's hard, but just try and deal damage to Death, which is not really an easy task given the limited space you have. Do not go on too high a platforms though, you're just asking for a life to be lost. I recommend also using the cross in this fight, as you can lob it at the scythes, and as it comes back, it can actually help you as well and destroy scythes that are appearing on the screen. And it will also make it a lot easier as well to focus on just Death himself, but eventually you will beat him. And finally, Count Dracula himself. The stage you fight him in is so cool. The intro as well to him just rising up on the screen. This is literally an endurance run, and it was a ball ache for me to defeat him. First of all, you have to hit him in the head as nowhere else deals damage to him. Secondly, he opens up his cape and shoots 3 fireballs at you, which you can destroy or dodge. Then, the worst one out of his 3 moves is the teleportation. It feels so random to me, so it just kept me on my toes to think where would he be appearing from. It did take me a while to defeat him, but eventually, oh yeah, that's right, you take the head right off the count, and man did that feel good. But wait, what? Oh man, you gotta be fucking kidding me. He has a second form? This is what I meant by an endurance run. There is no way to get health in this fight, so if you take a hit in the first phase, well you're fucked. This second phase is worse than the first one. Dracula just bounces around, throwing some fireballs occasionally, but not as much as he did in the first one. But his health, man, this guy is a tank. But eventually, with patience, I bested him. And after everything I've said about the game, it sounds mostly negative, right? Well, I actually really love this game. Putting the bullshit things aside here, you have a really solid NES title. I mean heck, it spawned a whole lot more games, books, comics, and even an animated series. Sure, this is a hard game, but it's not impossible. Looking at you, Ninja Gaiden, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In fact, you'll develop a love-hate for this game. You know that deep down you will beat it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Castlevania. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see new players to come and try this game out. You can play this game in the Anniversary Collection, which is available on all current consoles and PC. Please let me know your thoughts of the game or anything I missed out in the video, and remember to like the video and subscribe. Or if you hated it, give it a dislike. Thank you for watching. This has been Dover Pie. Peace. Peace.